Okay, thank you very much, everybody, for being here. Welcome to this new episode of Roundtable. It's a pleasure to have you. So today we have the privilege, the honor to welcome 5 guests. Actually, yeah, let's please intro each other. Each of you, please intro. And starting from Pablo.
Pablo, co-founder of Angel Protocol and of Merkle. We help protocols, chains, issuers distribute their incentives with Merkle.
Okay, so I'm Guicho. I lead the Ropes department of 50 Partners, French VC, and we back some trusted protocols linked with the stablecoins, and 2 of them are Solid Finance and Cantillon Protocol. So I'm a bit an ovni here, but happy to speak with you.
Great to have you.
I'm Alexis, and I was previously the co-founder of Roundtable, which was a stablecoin orchestration platform. And now I lead the crypto product development team at Ibery, which is a cross-border payment fintech company.
Great. Want to go next?
Sure. I'm Romain. I'm one of the co-founders of Trivi. We're basically building a stablecoin infrastructure hub.
Hadley, co-founder of Usual. We try to build a decentralized stablecoin and decentralized fintech to move forward. And I'm also 12 years in crypto and also have a GP company with Sandok.
Awesome. Great. So it's great. So thanks for being here. So today it's going to be around stablecoins. I mean, I guess this one's going to be more financial and technical. I mean, we can get into the technical part if Condor leads to it. But yeah, we have a lot to discuss. Maybe we can, I don't know, what you guys are inspired from or where's to get started. Maybe not by you.
Yeah, we can also mention in the older news from our launch.
Do you want to talk about bad news or good news?
No. Bad news first. Yeah, bad news first. Let's start it.
Okay, I will let you guys start them because I'm out of that.
No, that's really strong. So, no more bad.
So let's start simple. Let's please just okay. What's your take? What's your view over the current status of DeFi and still status this Jared?
It seems that we achieved like a plateau in terms of USD stablecoin diversification. I think there is a lot of new projects that emerge in the 2025. Now we see big player comes in like Stripe, etc. So maybe we'll see less and less crypto alternative to stablecoin or crypto native stablecoin and more corporate native stablecoin. I still think we don't know who are the future leader because till Tether has no transparent reserve. I think we cannot consider that it's totally win for them in certain way because there would be institutional capital that will flow in the next years in that specific area. And so it was also the year where we see like relax from a regulator in different states in the world. So clearly the space is booming in the stablecoin space, but I don't think that the new stablecoin will be crypto native, and so the competition will be hard in the next 2 years, 4 years, I think, to survive as a crypto native stablecoin. Same for the
e-founders
okay individual. Well, just like you go on DeFi or a Pendle page of stablecoin, you have like 100 different stablecoin with not really always transparent mechanics and not always transparent backing. I mean, and I think that a lot was thanks to punch campaign and stuff like that. Not always organic. Also thanks to the bull market and the inefficient of the crypto market, like eating up on compounds that you basis trading, that theoretically basis trading should turn to the TBI because every basis should tend to the TBI. So the space will check. That's the point. Like this year was the year of exploiting all the logic that can make some growth and boost on the stablecoin business. But I think that next year's it will be more organic growth with banks that will provide access to stablecoin, like Revolut is moving, like this is Stripe, etc.
Yeah, and that I think the only point I don't agree with on is that I think there's going to be 10 or 100 consumer stablecoins.
And that I think the same was here. It's true to it, but also a lot of lower quality or less corporate coins because the barrier of entry has dramatically gotten lower. should now also open the opportunity window for more exotic like stablecoins, even if we very recently saw that it was not always the best choice. I think there's an interesting question where probably a lot of us won't have different opinion. Could you think is the biggest winner of the year in the stablecoin industry? My bet is Strike.
I would guess it's Straw. I would say Tether.
It's not a winner yet. Like they did a launch, they just made some noise, and some big announcements like Klarna launching their stablecoin. Yeah, I think the real winners, like position right now, are like the enablers, like the infrastructure providers who enable this stablecoin work to thrive. You know, like so all the Morpho, all the Euler, Aave, and these guys like who have kind of become the de facto platforms where stablecoins express themselves. Like same for Pendle, you know, like you're launching a stablecoin, you want some native yield product attached to it, then like Pendle grows, and so exchanges as well. Like Curve grew in the first place because it was a place to exchange one stablecoin, like from one stablecoin to another. So all these very simple, in fact, DeFi protocols are the true winners, and the losers are the people who were in DeFi and who tried to do stuff that was too complex, protocols that tended to get hacked. So all the like 2021 era type of protocols, I don't believe like these guys are the true losers, and like you can see like all the people who were doing this, which are now like shutting down. And so the only people who are remaining are those who are like super close to an infrastructure play, or like Aave, those who have like a super solid brand and real network effects.
A Lindy effect, let's say. Yeah, because like Aave is 7 years in something like so. It's logic that it start to be trustable. Everybody has a use Aave, so yeah. And I think what we have seen on the network side with Ethereum, Bitcoin, and others that are old and still used in such a way, we can put maybe Arbitrum in that sense. We'll see the same stuff for the protocol. I think for the smart contract protocol on top of L1, like Pablo was saying.
I think we talk the order of magnitude of success of most DeFi protocol, with mainly the exception of Aave and Hyperliquid, is probably in 1 or 2 orders back smaller than what Stride, Rabbit, or this kind of companies will be able to extract from crypto.
But do you think they will not use the infrastructure? Like for me, Revolut will use Morpho or Aave or whatever. There will not be something from such, no?
I think it depends. You really have to understand, like right now there's really two worlds. We talked about stablecoins, right? And about like, there is a diversity of stablecoins. And for instance, Klarna's stablecoin is just spun up by Bridge and relies on Bridge's architecture. And Bridge can actually has a functionality that allows any company to actually spun out its own stablecoin. But under the hood, like, is it really a stablecoin like USDT or USDC? Not at all. It's simply, I know, like for ease of like making noise, marketing, or maybe like simplifying friction and moving like internal netting for those payment companies. So it's one use case for them to actually have a stablecoin, but it's not the same as Circle, for instance, which is like building its own ecosystem around it, which is like vital if you want to have a stablecoin which is used not only by you but by everyone. And I agree that the Morphos and Aaves are actually building this ecosystem and making them thrive. But then you have like, you can see like there are probably like two kinds of businesses. You have the Morphos and the Spikos, which are taking like a more B2B approach, I would say. And so I think while those businesses will be tending towards regulation and have like a career path towards regulatory compliance, there will still be like a gap between those two. But also, when you have your stablecoin and everything is like running on chain, you need yield at the end of the day, right? So you need companies to provide yield for you.
Well, I mean, you don't necessarily just need yields. You can just simply just the forex.
It depends what you do, right? If you do payments, just actually having access to stablecoin allows you to reduce your fees, gain speed. So that
you don't need a lot to verify because you just need to be counterpart actually.
But then the thing is that if you look at Revolut, like that's your value proposition today, right? Like fintech companies in payments They are very slow and they cost a lot. So by actually moving on-chain, you reduce the speed and the fees. But then again, what's your value proposition in 5 years? That's not going to be enough, right? Everyone is already doing that. Bridge is doing that. BVMK is doing that. Zero Hash is doing that. So how can you convince those companies to actually move on-chain if you don't want your fees to actually go to zero? Then you provide deal.
But that's always been the value proposition of crypto. It's kind of the Trojan horse, especially around DeFi. It's that fees in finance are progressively all going to 0 because we are standardizing and dialing down the complexity of finance. And by doing so, anyone can start building into it, and you see the fees going down. And a very good example is that in lending, outside of average has very fixed fees. Everyone else is basically fighting down. It's even worse if you go into AMNs. For example, today, most of the volume is going through the new dark horse, which is Fluid. One of the biggest way Fluid is getting this volume and so the incentives is by having fees under 1 DPS for flops. You're not making any more money.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you also need to make money, right? Like, yeah, because
That's why you bet membership when you Revolut in Singapore.
Really, that's the question. Like, what's the incentives of the long term of the Revolut to move on chain if there is an existential threat of with them making money? And like, so
I mean, it's also like you need to, if like this technology can be a threat to you, and can actually, there is a risk for you to actually become disintermediated at the end of the day, right? So it's more like I think they need to go, because otherwise, if it's not them, it's going to be others, and so it's also like a defensive play for them. So yeah, I see it like that more. Or am I wrong?
I think it's properties, but I see it like more strategically over the long term. It's kind of like what Google and Facebook do, where they provide a social network or browser or something else, and it's free. So where the fees, it's because they have a different business model. And the whole point is that we are seeing stablecoins and finance as they were today as you take fees because you take a cut of this transaction or on the minting or the redemption. But there's probably adjacent businesses that can be dope or that really exist. And what you're going to do is you're going to kill the competition to utilize on streets, the circle tellers, by having an adjacent business.
Yeah, I mean, just like, for instance, lending and borrowing, because when you're a fintech, if you do payments, I mean, actually, Revolut, they started with Forex, and then they moved away and added like a brick and then another brick. And you can choose exactly to actually cut up all the fees on the payment part and make more money on the lending, because that's actually quite a lucrative business. So yeah, the bigger you are, the more options you have, and the more difficult it is for smaller companies to actually, compete with you, because the scale and the economics are working against you in that case.
I mean, that's kind of the point of, I'm not sure if you remember like this pretty famous topic discussion between, so I think it was on Bitcoin Talk, that was the very old, we got from this, but like Alfine,
you was here at the time.
I wasn't there at the time. Like, it was basically the discussion he had, like, it was already bringing up, I think it was like 2012. So actually, I mean, besides this entire discussion around yield, so I just feel like the only part of, okay, you know what, just to get back to the first question the first point that you made, actually, I feel the other way around. Like, again, I feel like the more we'll go, the more big companies will just issue their own tokens, just even for the internal usage. You can imagine like adding some kind of Walmart creating a token just and giving you.
But it just will be customization. I think it will be like white labeling of. It will be white label or whatever. But the watermark will be the same, and it will be totally interoperable. Like beating closed system in crypto as. It's totally stupid. Like we build crypto, you will not have POSIT system. Right now, the problem with the banking system is that it enables that you already have like I'm not sure, like 80% of the total supply of the total market cap of tables being like a BQ to players.
Yeah, but it's still public. It's still in public blockchain. But what you're gonna see is the corporations who are gonna create stablecoins are going to use white table solutions if they are not financial institutions. The question is, will banks build their own stablecoin with white label solution? They might stop by doing this, but at some point they're going to look at the margins. They're going to say, okay, why are we paying the margins to these issuers? And they're just going to build their own. If you look at the way JP Morgan or Goldman Sachs has done their business, they have always either bought out or started doing their own business internally.
And another question was
Do they not? Currently, they're European, right? They are Swedish, I think.
Yeah, but actually, like, most of their business is done in the US. Yeah, I was quite surprised as well. I saw that on Twitter.
But is it smart to brand the money when you're a tech provider? For example, Strike is mostly at the beginning a tech provider, financial tech, but a tech provider that provide good API, good support for having the credit card for Mac and stuff like that. And do you want to have your brand attached to a token that can be in other scandal, others problem, others is other stuff to manage? The question is, for me, there will be like neutral alternative, and that's something we think it's important also. That's why we have it Kizo, because we think the money should be neutral, the more neutral possible in certain way. And so if it's governed decentralized way, it's even better. But really for me, I don't see the point for a brand to have for a company to have their brand attached to a stablecoin, rather than that just having some revenue share agreement with issuers and get most of the yield if it's the business model.
Let's say the date of like would you outsource something or make it in-house?
Money is commodity, you know. You for me, yeah, but you don't like on the oil you don't have like the share oil. You have the brand, but at the end what is on the pump is just the name of the specific oil and refinement. I'm not specialist, but you don't brand so much the commodities.
That's also the debate having or not a private currency or not, and that's the key debate. Do you want to brand a currency with a private company, and that's all the stuff is stablecoin and crypto as well.
It's a question of fungibility, right? Yeah. In the end, it doesn't matter whether it's branded or not. Like, who cares? As long as you can settle easily from one stablecoin to another, like companies will do what they want, and they will go with the natural stablecoins if they can negotiate a rev share, basically.
And if they're in terms of UX, it's complicated.
No, because if it's made seamless, and it can be made seamless, you know, like swapping 1 billion of one stablecoin to 1 billion of
so the brand disappear. You know what I mean? Is like I don't see Revolut app where you have.
Revolut will hide all this under the hood, you know. But you're right, they have USDT. But some point you'll just deposit stablecoins. It'll be okay. It's any stablecoin just becomes Revolut USD, and then you can see what
it was FTX.
Yeah. Curiously for me, because one of the best features of FTX, you know, like
the aggregation, was great. The problem there was no USD. That's the problem, but the picture was made.
Yeah, we're sorry.
You be partially them. I think we have to be careful and not normalize scams. And the industry has done it too much. And we have to be careful about I see people trying. We saw the 3 Arrow Capital guys trying to do a comeback. Like, it's very important that the industry doesn't, that people that openly scammed. And even on CZ, you know, like people tend to forgive him too much for, you know, working with Hamas and like financing. No, but it's true. Like they help finance terrorism.
You'd be like, do you feel like it's more like a kind of negligence?
No, it's not a negligence. I mean, if he was like, if he was from guilty, like I don't know, like I didn't read into like the trial, and I mean,
the type of thing I always feel like. I mean, again, I don't know too much about the case, but like it feels more like it's more some kind of negligence than anything else. Although, of course, you always remain liable for people like who does that will be use your service, but
it's like. The way I believe it happened is that they saw it happening and they were like, okay, do we build the systems in place, and how like what amount of energy do we put to prevent this from happening? And I guess they said, okay, we don't care. Let's just put the least amount of energy. We make money out of it, and people won't be able to repurchase for not having done anything, you know. They had Cardiff have a headquarters somewhere at that point, right? I think almost every crypto company pre-2020, actually before DeFi, had to do some kind of cry on one another to make revenue. Because most of the business that was happening pre-2020 was mostly black markets.
But there is also like how was it called? Like the founder of your And on the night, they've actually launched like a new stablecoin, right? Which is like one of the and you rate like at $1 billion leverage.
It's super.
How did he call it?
It's fine by
Define to it. Okay. Oh, that's
So it's a perfect exchange. It's basically he wants to create a on-chain centralized exchange.
Yeah.
And there's a stable coin that's going to be Delta Report.
Yeah, exactly. But and he's also like he's known quite to make some
So
doubtful.
the devil's advocate, this guy never stole money. Like he just left projects early, and some of his tokens went to zero. But he's a developer. He tried experiments, and people reproached him for less than peanut bags. But he doesn't owe anything to anyone. So
I can agree with this. So he didn't say anything. He just left. He said like he was tired of crypto and he left for some time. And somebody comes back from time to time. But I at least not I know. I don't think he did anything. Like he's not like a Justin Sun or doing some shady stuff. Maybe I don't know anything. But like
the problem is technical formation because you release a token, release like a roadmap with a project, and if you don't end up iterating the roadmap, it's very complicated with your team, and you end up being in front of a wall. How you wind down the project? How because that's meta.
Or you could also blame Thomas for Euler for the sport.
We play OI. Yeah, OI.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a scam, but like whatever. I mean, it's a basically it's tough. Like he cannot really once a token is launched, feels like it's not really.
the Alpha More and the team were like teams behind token like initiating like tokens. They don't owe anything to token holders. Like if people if you lie and if you say things that you don't do, then yeah, to some extent you're responsible. But we had the case, with Engel, who were doing stablecoins. We started working on Merkle, which doesn't have a token, and we were clear from scratch that it's independent from like Engel. And people came to us and like, hey, we're Engel token holders. We should get entitled to a part of the revenue of Merkle. No, like you bought the token I developed. You don't have like a share of the revenue I'm going to generate throughout with all my projects. For my life, like for
that case, I think that's clear. But like, I think it's important to understand the difference between like lying and not like saying something that you know that it cannot be possible. Like, because most of the founders, they just give technical promises that they probably know that it's impossible. And then it's okay, then, the coin crashes, but they know that it will crash. And at some point, you can tell the same for even the big change, Because those promising, you have people that promise.
Yeah, there's that of course. Like not all buyers are as smart, but in that, like I don't think. Yeah, no, maybe it's too much out of the subject, but like I think there's a difference between a technical product and a financial product. If you are doing a financial product, in that people are buying it with the rest, because I guess financial product buyers, they understand that better. But if you are doing something technical, then you can be much more precise about your deadlines and what's possible and what's not.
But that's not the problem. Is not only the responsibility of the builders and the founders. I mean, when Tipper also invest in equity, and with token, you have the opportunity as a consumer just to buy some token, some financial product, and with that, you also have the responsibility to do your own due diligence. And of course, I don't want to normalize liars, and we know that you have some of them in the crypto spaces. But when you build a company, and I think you can say that you sometimes have to pivot. You have some unexpected difficulties, and you cannot every time fulfill all your engagement. But as a professional investors, that's okay. But as a consumer and that can buy some token, that's quite harder to understand that type.
But actually, I think the bottom line is whenever there's money on stake, people will always complain. And like people, if the token works well, nobody is going to come to your house like just to hug you.
So it's the famous saying, how do you really release the token if you haven't received death threats? It's pretty cynical of it. But you know what's actually crazy is all the discussion we're having, we shouldn't have it. Like there's a legal framework for equity. I'm not saying it should be exactly safe for token, but there is a need for a legal framework to exist for tokens. I don't agree with this.
No, it's just like no grain in the casino. Legal frameworks are meant to protect investors and so on, but sometimes I believe that like the law tends to protect too much. Typically, right now, for the sake of protection of investors, like MiCA and the Genius Act in the US, that's really the argument they put in place. They say stablecoin issuers are not allowed to share their yield with their holders as a way to protect investors, because otherwise, it's going to entice issuers from into taking risk and investing into so that they fight on the yield. You're talking about stablecoin, not governance token. Yeah,
What they say is that already in the law, the strict minimal, where you don't have to steal, you don't have to lie, you don't have all that.
What I'm trying to say is whatever happens, when fraud is going to happen, people are going to sue. And when people are going to sue, the judges then stick some case law on it. Whatever happens, at least in the US, but we have equivalent processes in France. So in the end, what's going to happen is we can say no paying in this casino, but the proof is at some point, if the police or the legal system is going to come in and there's going to be a clash. The problem with this is because we have refused for a legal framework to exist, we're not going to choose but the legal framework. So it's going to be chosen during trials and it's not going to act in our best interest. That's the first part. The second part, which is even more important, is that a few people here have said the token were financial products. I hope you don't have a token because theoretically you're not supposed to say this. If it's a financial product, there's already regulation for us. And the basis of having a financial product, you're supposed to have a prospectus. So basically just a document that's saying what is the rights that come with this asset and what are the risks.
That's the main point. You're totally right, but many people, many investors and many consumers that buy token say, okay, that's like equity. I have to be involved and retributed with the value created by the protocol. So that's quite hard sometimes because the difference is quite small.
The difference is maturity. So yeah, part education are usually over 10-year old, right? I mean, in crypto contracts are the 10-year old. Rita is 8 years old, and I must agree with you. And about the casino comment, I think everyone knows that they're casino in band. They put tokens they don't say they're casino, so that's a big difference. I'm not against meme tokens. I think that's great. If people want to gamble, they can just buy meme tokens. That's okay. But about financial products and having a documentary, I don't know. I guess the question becomes: let's say there's enough regulations over crypto, and then everything is in the way that it should be. Then what is the difference between crypto and regular finance? Because in that the technology was enough for finance as well. Decentralization doesn't change too much once there are very strict regulations.
Maybe I'm too much of a liberal, but to answer on the point of regulation, I think it's the market that should self-regulate itself. We should have self-imposed norms of how people communicate about launching the tokens, the protocol, without having a state imposing it. And so anyone, I mean, that's me being a liberal, but anyone should have the right to do whatever they want, launch whatever they want. But investors, projects could communicate in a certain way and say, look, we're going to do things this way. We respect this standard. It's a standard that's not created by any jurisdictions and whatever. And so it's the role then of investors to look into the set of standards to which the token issuer or whatever project is the guidelines it's like.
I think everyone agrees with you on this. Dropbox and rates. Dropbox is the framework of you over summer, which was basically doing this best practices that contracts should follow when they're releasing the token, and then they were rating them.
Yeah, I mean, that's how we would like for this to happen in the most well-built will, but in the end, in practice, it's never working like that, right? That's why we see, right? We've been in the space for a lot of time. We've been building in the space. We are well aware of what's going on, etc. But there is so much money and there is so many marketings that are advertising.
And this is the strong regulation point, I think.
Yeah, that's the problem, right? Because at the end of the day, you have people that are putting their money into completely vacuum product.
But it's the fault of this
people. It was developed this people, yeah. But
it was this marketing and
yeah. But at the end of the day, the regulator is going to come at some point, right? Because there's going to be too many people. I mean, there's too many dumb people on Earth.
I'm not agree with the dumb assumption. It's more about the culture assumption. Everybody has different culture, has different access to knowledge, has different access to finance, etc. For me, it's more about there is practical rules in society that already exist, and the problem is that we have all stuff that was maybe needed at the time, like regulation of bank, having a monopoly of oligopoly for them, like we have right now. It's horrible, like regulation capture and etc. by the bankers. So I think that we it's more that the financial system is too old in his regulation because the product has become accessible and the knowledge has spread also. And right now it's crazy because you cannot invest in some fund if you are retail, but you can go PLU and just pay on horse or casino. So at least they don't protect the investor, even if it's not the same as investing. But the problem for me is more that we block the access because we put intermediary privilege in certain way. And the problem is more the intermediary privilege. For me, the rules are, in certain ways, are clear. We all know, I think it feels is the worst scam for me, too many things. But the scam is like somebody that steal, somebody that lie. If you, and even a moral person. And that's the main problem. Like ICO is people who are delivering what they are doing.
Yeah, but that's why it's tough to actually, because, you know, 2 cents is actually like so many convincing products that you think will actually change the game and will make you rich in some way. That it's, even if you have standards that are...
You have to have a right to choose. That's my main problem. For example, me, in some get agreement, like
100% agree with
having a bank that say, okay, I'm a bank, but I don't have agreement, or okay, I'm a bank, I have this supervisor that say I follow the rule.
To be the DG said, okay, take, yeah, because I agree with everything that you said, but when I defend this argument, often people bring me this other counter argument, like when you go to a grocery store, buy some food in France, at least you know that everything you can buy is safe for you, you know, like, and should it be the same for financial products?
Okay, let's get back to English. Okay, I mean, speak yours to comment. Yeah. Maybe we can speak about CBDC and stable. You need to get started. Let's get started.
Looking forward to see it.
Maybe in 2029, right? Your first very time, Chris. Maybe it's going to happen eventually, but I mean, it's cool. Like a cool replacement for cash. I don't know how and when it will happen. I just hope that they would have incentive programs in place.
Feeling all the time.
And he should, but my issue with this is they've announced it will officially, they committed, so it's going to be late, of course, going to be ready in 2029. They announced, I think it's going, how much it would cost to deploy, what they're preparing. It's 100 times what it should cost. Like any of us could build it with 100 less money. Besides the point, where do you think dollar stablecoins are going to be in 4 years? Because that's the proof. Like, is there going to be space for digital money, for digital euro?
When you can enforce you, there's always nice.
No, I totally agree with that. They don't really need to care about competition because they can actually make a space for themselves.
I think tokenized T-bill by central bank will be before CBDC.
I hope.
Like personally, I think the Fed will issue organic T-bills, but directly on chain before having that.
Do you have insights on this or
no insights? It's pure. Okay,
Don't you think they would use like a securitize or anything like
or whatever? It's even more easy because you just have to make a token and the remaining is off chain. So I think, and the access it could give and the leverage it could give, because right now the what allow tokenization is leverage mostly. So you have a crazy LTV where people are okay to have those LTV. And so yeah, for me, even for small states, it could be a good operation to get more capital, etc., etc. And yeah, I think it's more simple, and I see less problems by doing TB on chain than doing a stablecoin.
Does it screw Circle and Tether doing such a what? If you tokenize the T-bills directly,
yeah,
does it screw their current?
No, it's the opposite. It's even better. If you're a stablecoin issuer and you have like fresh T-bill from the Fed in your collateral, you can make collateral allocation that is even better, like the on chain.
yeah.
and everybody can see the maturity in a large time and the buffering in a large time. So no, I think the most important stuff, the like having on-chain T-bit, because this could change DeFi compared to whatever USD or that is a CBDC. Because as we know right now, they are not like in an open world in their mind. But for TB, you already have, for each RWA instrument, you already have registration and stuff like that. So we can imagine issuers that register to the Fed indirectly, maybe a new way, because normally it's not that easy to get access to repo or that kind of stuff. So maybe new agreements that are a little bit lower, but directly on chain.
And do you know the structural reasons for which getting access to repo is complex? Like, is it regulations or just the regulation? You need an agreement to get there. First, why do that?
No, and financial because you have a finite supply in certain ways. So your finite supply is the best count, right?
Yeah, but I mean, my take on why not everyone contracts directly with the central banks, or why not everyone doesn't have a Fed account, is that the Fed doesn't know how to manage customers and these kind of things. That's a 20th century problem. The thing is, the way the banking system is structured, central bank manages the monetary policy, and then only the banks are allowed to interact with the central bank here. So the whole thing where CBDCs are revolutionary is that they're screwing banks because they're going to cut them out. But I agree. So then the reason why they didn't do it in the first place was because they couldn't deal with billions of customers, potentially central banks. And now they have an instrument to do this without having to care much about the scale it entails. Yeah. So just before we said that it's okay because the ECB can enforce the usage of their CBDC, but I really actually am not sure that the euro will still be here in 4 years if there's nothing that's actually tokenized. Because when you look at the speed at which stablecoins are growing and getting adopted, if every fintech and every bank start using stablecoin, with the speed at which people are actually changing technology, especially when you look at modern banks who are fully mobile, or it's much easier to switch accounts, will banks that are just doing euro on the traditional T+1 system still exist in 4 years? Can they even survive?
I think you overestimate how banks are not businesses. I mean they are businesses, but banks are not that very efficient. I feel I should have read some reports from I think it was ECB, Bank of England, even Banque de France, about the impact of stables on those banks, and it's tremendous at Horizon 29. Like at the end of the day, they will make sure it still works, and just take a look at your I'm not sure what bank you are at, but if you compare any bank application on your iPhone versus Revolut or N26, you see the massive difference in terms of UX. So just giving this, I don't have any doubt about the future of those traditional banks and even the issue of fiat, because you always have stuff organized for them to make money and survive.
And I think at the end of the day, what matters is what's used in the real life. You still need to feed yourself, pay your rents, etc. And this is denominated in euro. So as long as you can only pay in euro, you will need to have euros in your bank account. And so
what happens
if your lawyers, your landlords to say, okay, I accept USDC.
But what if you have such a good Forex app and it's so seamless, then basically you're doing absolutely everything in dollar and just your aim point is euro. So basically euro has zero velocity except payment in the Eurozone.
But euro is starting to build velocity on chain. In a sense,
it is because deal is starting to come up and institutions are coming on and dollar is going on.
So yeah, I don't really believe in the vision where everything is dollarized and
you don't want to be slave of USD. None of us are we want the absolute opposite, right? And what's actually interesting is 2020.
And that's what's happening, right?
Yeah, it's a transition year. You're seeing Tether dumping T-bills. You're seeing a lot of companies that had a lot of dollar exposure progressively going out of it. You're seeing all the central banks suddenly starting to all buy gold. So the reason gold is exploding is because they're all buying it.
And there's less and less dollar trades globally. Like a few years before, it was 60 to 80% global trade denominated in dollars. And now it's roughly about between 40 and 50%.
Yeah, but
and it's going down.
They're going to trade at if stablecoins are mostly dollar and they're 10x more efficient than everything else.
But it seems that it's easy to like do RMB online tomorrow if really there is needs and will. Like stablecoin was, I think USD stablecoin are in certain way close to where they were already. Like for example, where are USD stablecoin on finance? Finance was already dollarized. Whereas in country where the money is but already dollarized. So if you look at where the space the USD stablecoin goes, it's just the space where there was already dollar but hard access to, or little bit more difficult access, like for crypto, because we also start USD pairs, and it was complicated for exchange to add USD accounts, so it was better to have stablecoin. And same for remittance in the south, etc., that already use dollars. So at the end, I think that it's like with the chain is getting all the exportation and doing the most of becoming one of the biggest trade partner of every country. I think that at the end of the day, if they want to use whatever RMB stablecoin, it will be RMB stablecoin. And if euro want to be pushed where there is already euro, it will be pushed where there are already euro. I'm not sure that USD is capturing some money a lot. It's just doing where we do.
They captured T-bills, but
Yeah, they capture depths, but it's different.
Yeah, but it's good for them because I think today where everyone that's participating in DeFi is indirect.
And so stay dump.
But you can see, I think like in the last year and 2 years, we've seen the most growth in forex stablecoin exchange, and also like in G10 and more exotic stablecoins. And that's because more and more merchants in exotic countries are actually now starting to accept stablecoins. And so, when you have all of the usage stable ways that are financial systems, sure, it's denominated in stables, but in USD. But when it changes and moves to it moves the ladder and goes towards like more base layer businesses, merchants, and etc., then you start to have more a bigger diversification of stablecoins.
Yeah.
Has
be just it's what's interesting also is where all of these stablecoins are settling, right? Because what we're seeing is Ethereum is doing most of the volume. Ethereum is doing most of the volume today. You have some of it on Solana, and then you have all the dark market on Tron. And that's basically where stablecoins are settled. Everything else is like kind of eroded.
Okay, so about Tron, and also previously, there is this very interesting comment. So all these stable coins or chains like Tron, they are mostly used in third world countries because they actually solve a problem. And when we say stable, we always talk about efficiency and how cheap it is. But does this really matter for Euro's case? Because in that, most of our expenses, taxes, and taxes right now, they are cheaper with stables because they are not really taxified all across the globe, but they will be at some point. And then stable not actually be much cheaper. Because as just we said, Revolut was much cheaper than traditional banks for years and years. And the banking system in third world countries is much better than of probably all of Europe. But in that, nothing changes. Europe does not evolve, and banks on Europe, they are not still digitalized. And we are still using post. So I guess in that, the performance doesn't really matter in the long run. You always say it's more efficient, but will that change anything for developed countries?
It does change a lot. We don't really see it, and I think Europe is going to be one of the last users of that because we already have a financial and payment system that works very well. Today I can pay with my smartphone or change and have that instant change, paying little to no fees on that.
That's very, very debatable. The financial system in Europe, it's the worst in the world. So
no. I definitely don't agree. I don't agree. The
worst, no, the banking experience. If you look in Africa or in some parts of Southeast Asia, people are unbanked. So what happened is very.
And you need to compare with what is with the rest of the world.
Okay, there is that bare minimum, but I'm coming from Turkey. and that in Turkey, digital banking is just much better.
No. So this I agree. Yeah.
And the best country in the world is Brazil, like in terms of payments.
Why? Because in that Brazil is as developed as Europe. That is the
And Kenya is an interesting alternative. Like we're talking about Africa because they were all unbanked. Like what Alexis was mentioning is kind of like deep frogging. Yeah, unstable for yeah. So the idea is that because they don't have a technology, instead of trying to buy the infrastructure to get this one, there's a newer one that's more efficient, and they're focusing on it. So what we're seeing in Africa in general is digitalization of money, solar energy because they never had coal or anything. So they're straight going to like the newer methods. And what we saw in Kenya, for example, if you use 2008 or 2009, where they introduced M-Pesa, right? Is that basically when people started using, I think 80% of the population now uses this digital money on their phone. And the direct effect of this was 80% of unpaid debts started to be paid up because people were able to pay them on the phone. And the problem is that before you had to go from village to village to go and connect them manually. Now you can just do it directly.
For example, is mobile money. That everybody is using mobile money, and then the next natural step is a stablecoin entering payment.
Do you need stablecoins if you already have mobile money?
In terms of fees to transfer money,
Say, yeah, let's say from the payments, you get the less than a few cents.
Yeah, it's like 5 to 6%.
and in Africa there is many fees from diaspora, like in Europe, US, etc., coming to Africa, and then as soon as this is a big part of the economy, of course there is a real problem with the mobile money.
Actually, quick question. What do you think of the future of Western Union?
That's like the vision of traditional banking. But you have to update your statement.
Yeah, absolutely. To adapt of that day, web line is a new feature somehow. Is a new way. What?
Video blockbuster, yeah, blockbuster. I mean, that's really like mobile money for sure. It's more efficient than stablecoins. At least at small scale, like the real advantage of stablecoins is like composability and how you can insert this form of digital money into an ecosystem where you can like lend it and so on. Retail is not going to care about stablecoins. They'll care about stablecoin money. The ones who will care about stablecoins are going to be financial institutions, their corporations, and states.
Yeah, go on with the products for users.
I don't really agree with that because
Individuals wants to back their salary with that real money.
No. I mean this. Yeah, but we talked about remittances, but I don't know if you're an African,
Like in Nigeria,
working in Paris, for instance, and you want to send funds back in Nigeria. Well, it takes today T plus 30 days and 5 to 6% to send this wire those funds. Stablecoin, and it takes like 15 minutes.
So no, we know Western Union is working on a stablecoin, right? They announced it. They should. No, they are.
Oh, they are?
They are. They announced it. Yeah, but the thing is, so they're going to cut their own margin because they don't have a choice.
they won't take any.
No, so the revenue is going to go down by 100x progressively. It's the only solution unless they find another revenue alternative.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to be it's going to become a commodity that to fund money. So it's like
Finance in general is going to become a commodity. It's unavoidable.
Yeah. I mean, but then you have like so many things you can do with that. Like Western unions, they could like, I don't know, white label creator that allows you like we know that, for instance, remittances, people like they want to invest back in that country. So I don't know, you could provide like curators that work with projects that are in Africa that you can invest in, get a yield on that, etc., etc. So there are many verticals that you can build and integrate into your product. And this can be done on chain. Like there's no barrier of entry for that to not happen.
I think one big thing that we're underestimating with stablecoin and DeFi in general is that there's still a lot of creativity and overtime. And we're like kind of thinking it's game over and it's finished, but it's not. Like there's probably decades of building.
Yeah, I agree.
Getting a bit more technical, I have a question I would have loved to ask Plasma and even in Aldi from usual. What did you think of LO1s dedicated to stablecoin? I mean, like Plasma, for instance. I would have loved to ask Plasma about this. To me, I just feel like I really don't see the point. I feel like L2 do the same job very easily. Basically, why do you even need an L1 for stablecoins? Do you even know any opinion on this?
Plasma does Bitcoin settlement. So, and the argument was we are more fudgy. We had better consensus than Ethereum. Is it true? My simple take on chain
Is it the argument?
yeah, it's their argument. The argument about an L1 versus an L2 is the financial one, in the sense that you're higher in the hierarchy of value. So you have more weight, you can build better network effects because you have no dependency to another chain. In theory,
Why do you need to have a study? You own consensus first.
You have the cost of transaction as well, because, that's what we were doing before. And, when you do like a simple transaction, that's fine to pay like $1 or 10 cents. But if you're doing like millions of transactions per day, then there is a huge cost linked to that, right? So you want to basically, if you look at the fees to make a wire today, or the stablecoin sandwich, you have the on and off ramp fee, and then you have the transaction fee, right?
Yeah, but
So they want to reduce those points as much as possible,
but
right?
a stablecoin sandwich, you can still do it if from an L2.
Sure. Yeah, that's why that's the point of actually having another layer, call it layer 1 or whatever. Basically, you want a layer that is cheaper than one Ethereum mainnet is today, to perform your transaction on. That's what.
on paper, there is no need for new chains. But in practice, there is new chains that are constantly being built because it's the sexiest infrastructure that I can do for crystal power.
There's there's technical argument. I don't know if that makes sense, but I find it beautiful in some sense. Right now, the proof of stake model doesn't make too much sense because for economical security, you need people to stake, but the more stake you have, the less liquidity you have. So like the coin price just if you crash. So like proof of stake architecture doesn't work. But if you can actually back the economical security of a blockchain infra with stable coins, that can become really interesting. Like people staking their tokens as stable tokens, and then getting the yield as the APY of the chain, and then using this yield as some credit card mechanism or something.
Is that restaking that you're pitching?
Yeah, I don't think restaking is that, because restaking is about doing the same, using the same money for more and more stuff. So
Restaking, the thing is that no one is paying for economic security. Eigenlayer and Symbiotic, it's great ideas on the paper, but
I think on the paper as well, doesn't make sense.
What, sir?
Even on the paper, they are limited amount of money, unlimited amount of chains. So
what's really interesting about Eigenlayer is that it's basically credits. And you look at what Cap Money has built, they're super smart because they realized there was billions of dollars of collateral that could be used as a junior tranche on Eigenlayer. And what they're doing is they're subsidizing the risk, and it's being paid by... so it's a genius move by Caps. They have a great product, but it's not a great move for Eigenlayer people. They're getting paid to take on credit risk from private money, and they're going to be paid 2, 3, 4, 5%, where it should be double or triple what they're getting paid at.
The point was that I think stable tokens, they offer some different financial mechanisms for blockchains in terms of infra and consensus. So there's also the argument. Is that only what L1 can bring to stable coins, but there's also the other way of the picture. What stable coins can be utilized for.
It also requires the L1s to regenerate the entire network effect. It requires, so in terms of consensus, what do you suggest then?
Yeah, of course, there's the argument that after Ethereum, there's no point of doing the chain. Yeah, of course, you can still make.
Yep,
or in Bitcoin. So
the one of having an L2 on Ethereum is you rely on the trustworthiness of Ethereum.
No, but
anyway, but that being said, okay, let's say you just build from scratch. Okay, what consensus would you build? Would you use?
Me?
Yeah, okay.
You have to build a question.
Not you. At what do you suggest?
So the main point is that
right now to build everything from scratch. What's the point?
Yeah, but right now the current system, it doesn't work. Proof of work, it doesn't scale, it doesn't have any security guarantee whatsoever. And proof of stake, it just ends up with token crashing. All the systems that we have, they just don't work. And for L2s are profitable because they are getting the entire NEV out of the chain.
That's not true. Why do you care? Why do you even care?
I don't give a shit about whether a chain is L1 or L2, proof of stake, proof of work. As long as proof of stake, I prefer for economic reasons.
Is that you just want a freaking chain that is reliable if if it does a job for this, whatever the word, and then you use L2 for settlements. So I mean, okay, no, for settlement, you use the other one, like you use the other.
There's a very small subset of people that actually care how the consensus works.
That's a very, very valid point. I fully agree. But like, let's say that Bitcoin actually doesn't work, and after $10 trillion, Bitcoin will just crash. Then what happens? There are some people that cares about this right now, and then entire world will becomes $10 trillion.
An L2 on top of Bitcoin.
Yeah, I have some.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, so okay, so you know what? For me, build the L1, just build the L2 on Bitcoin.
No, I wouldn't do that either, because I don't think Bitcoin works. Bitcoin is just old. I think that's the entire value proposition of Bitcoin. So
Yeah, actually, I like me now, guys. But not anyway. Cool. Okay. So basically, I feel like the question is, I feel like tech is not even niche here for this. Like we don't really care. It doesn't really matter.
yeah, stable tokens is a technology. It's just what is stable tokens? Yeah, is it a technology? That's for sure.
And stablecoins have a legal definition now. So coins at Mika or Mika. Yeah, there's like a what is a stablecoin in Europe or in the US? There's a real answer to it. The question is, what is it for us as users, or what is it for banks, or what is it for in DeFi? The question there is because it depends on what's backed basically by the asset, what are the stability mechanisms, etc. But in practice, when people are going to ask what are stablecoin now, they're going to answer it's T-bills backed assets that are regulated in the US and Europe. This is what they're becoming. And if you look at the biggest stablecoins, they are all regulated by this, one way or another.
I don't think we should define by the regulation. The stablecoin, it's a crypto that's designed to keep a fixed price with respect to an asset. To it. So yeah. So if my crypto is designed to keep a fixed price with the dollar, like then so be it. Like it's a USD stablecoin. If it's designed to keep a fixed price with respect to the temperature in Paris, it's a bit like I have a stablecoin pegged to the temperature.
That's an interesting concept.
I mean, for me, it's like stablecoin 101, like
What? And there's this argument like the other thing is not stable. So what is BTC?
It's stable with respect to referential. No, it's rotating. Like it's.
Even the discussion around like what type of stable do you want? If you want the fiat backed stable, the collateralized or the other thing, that's not even the discussion here. Like the discussion is what is a stable? It's simply like a dollar, like a token tagged like paid on dollar. That's it, or like a euro or whatever. That's simply like this. Okay, maybe we can conclude with maybe that before, yeah, Mika, and
No, before like I want to ask one final question because I really want your opinion. Maybe I should have asked this earlier with all the people here, but like, do you consider stable tokens as a good move for decentralization?
I don't give a shit about decentralization. Like, I just care about infrastructure and what's more efficient, and like building better financial rails. And I believe that decentralization is something that's been followed far too long for people, and it's often used as like a value when it shouldn't be a value. Like you have immutability that matters for like DeFi, like the protocols built on blockchains, like financial protocols. But decentralization, personally, like it's the least of my preoccupation. Like
for me, it's important. It's probably the most important long term when you think about humanity as a whole and risk management, resilience. It's the core value that enables the system to be resilient. But stablecoins are only a step forward. Basically, it's one step back to the two step forwards. So I think that to get adoption, you need stablecoins. But the next step is going to be floating currencies and decentralized money in general, which is not where we're done today. So maybe we are just building finance 2.0 because we're not able to do second step. I think we are going to do that second step later on, but it's going to take 50 years.
Actually, for some context, like this question about decentralization, that's pretty much a question which we always ask because it's usually like a much more technical like discussion, and usually the answer is like, to me, okay, the first question I usually ask about like to people we have here in the podcast is like, first, why do you even need need blockchain here? And like the question is like, oh, but the definition, what is the features? What do you want to have something decentralized? For simply two reasons. And if difference matches those reasons, which are censorship resistance and trustness, then there's no point of having a blockchain. You can have a ledger, you can have any kind of a central system. Doesn't really matter. What you will decentralize only if the product that you build, the thing that you want to have, needs to be censorship resistant and trustless. That's it. Otherwise, you don't need to. And for stablecoins, I do feel like that's the main need.
I mean, the more these issuers are regulated, the less you don't need. Supposedly.
Yeah.
It's so the paradox is as time goes, we need decentralization less and less for finance on chain to work. At the beginning was necessary.
Okay, I agree. Do you
Amazing comments. Yeah.
do we stop here or do you want to be okay? That's good. So
No, thank you very much, Ryan. That's it. To everyone who left as well. It was amazing and yeah, very insightful discussion.
Thank you. Bye.
Cool. Merci les gars. Avec plaisir. Avec super. D'ailleurs, ça se passe, t'as des news,